Good morning. Today, on Wednesday, the 3rd of February, I'm reading to you John 9. So, welcome to my daily inspiration, my reading of John's Gospel. John 9, a very interesting story, a famous story about a man born blind and being healed by Jesus. So, let's listen to John 9. I'm reading from the version New English Bible. As he went on his way, Jesus saw a man blind from his birth. His disciples put the question, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents? Why was he born blind?" "It is not that this man or his parents sinned," Jesus answered. "He was born blind so that God's power might be displayed in curing him. While daylight lasts, we must carry on the work of him who sent me. Night comes when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." With these words, he spat on the ground and made a paste with the spittle. He spread it on the man's eyes and said to him, "Go and wash in the pool of Siloam." The name means sent. The man went away and washed, and when he returned, he could see. His neighbors and those who were accustomed to see him begging said, "Is not this the man who used to sit and beg?" Others said, "Yes, this is the man." Others again said, "No, but it is someone like him." The man himself said, "I am the man." They asked him, "How were your eyes opened?" He replied, "The man called Jesus made a paste and smeared my eyes with it and told me to go to Siloam and wash. I went and washed and gained my sight." "Where is he?" they asked. He answered, "I do not know." The man who had been blind was brought before the Pharisees. As it was a Sabbath day when Jesus made the paste and opened his eyes, the Pharisees now asked him by what means he had gained his sight. The man told them, "He spread a paste on my eyes. Then I washed and now I can see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This fellow is no man of God. He does not keep the Sabbath." Others said, "How could such signs come from a sinful man?" So they took different sides. Then they continued to question him. "What have you to say about him? It was your eyes he opened. It was your eyes he opened." He answered, "He is a prophet." The Jews would not believe that the man had been blind and had gained his sight until they had summoned his parents and questioned them. Is this man your son? Do you say that he was born blind? How is it that he can now see?" The parents replied, "We know that he is our son and that he was born blind. But how it is that he can now see or who opened his eyes, we do not know. Ask him, he is of age, he will speak for himself." His parents gave this answer because they were afraid of the Jews. For the Jewish authorities had already agreed that anyone who acknowledged Jesus as Messiah should be banned from the synagogue. That is why the parents said, "He is of age, ask him." So, for the second time, they summoned the man who had been blind and said, "Speak the truth before God. We know that this fellow is a sinner. Whether or not he is a sinner, I do not know. The man replied, all I know is this. Once I was blind, now I can see. What did he do to you? They asked. How did he open your eyes? I have told you already, he retorted, but you took no notice. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples? Then they became abusive. You are that man's disciple, they said, but we are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but as for this fellow, we do not know where he comes from. The man replied, what an extraordinary thing! Here is a man who has opened my eyes, yet you do not know where he comes from. It is common knowledge that God does not listen to sinners. He listens to anyone who is devout and obeys his will. To open the eyes of a man born blind, it is unheard of since time began. If that man had not come from God, he could have done nothing. Who are you to give us lessons? They retorted. Born and bred in sin as you are. Then they expelled him from the synagogue. Jesus heard that they had expelled him. The man answered, tell me who he is, sir, that I should put my faith in him. You have seen him, said Jesus. Indeed, it is he who is speaking to you. Lord, I believe, he said, and bowed before him. Jesus said, it is for judgment that I have come into this world, to give sight to the sightless and to make blind those who see. Some Pharisees in his company asked, do you mean that we are blind? If you were blind, said Jesus, you would not be guilty. But because you say, we see, your guilt remains. So, this is John 9, an interesting story in so many ways. I don't know whether you have ever heard that the Gospel of John is by many scholars considered to be a so-called two-level drama, which means that we have stories in the Gospel of John like this one, and especially this one, where many scholars have get the feeling that this can't really have happened straightforward at the time of Jesus' life on earth, because in the Synoptic Gospels we never hear that people openly acclaim that Jesus is the Messiah in this kind of way, in a really trusting way. We know that at one time Peter said that Jesus is the Messiah, and the understanding of Messiahship was not quite what Jesus sought for. But then here in John 9, it is not only said that people started to believe in him as the Messiah, but were put out of the synagogue, were banned from the synagogue because of believing in Jesus as the Messiah. Now this is quite unheard of in the Synoptic Gospels. So the idea came up that there is a merging of horizons, so to speak. So experiences from the time after Jesus' resurrection, when people were actually banned from the synagogue because when they started to believe in Jesus as the Messiah, this was read back into the life of Jesus. Now, this is an interesting theory. And of course, the question is, how do we react to such theories? One way is to say, no way. This is told straightforwardly as a story about an incident during the lifetime of Jesus, so it has to be true in a straightforward sense. It's a strange event, but so be it. Of course, this line of argument is taken by people who want to protect the historicity of every single event in the life of Jesus. I think that it's also really possible to take the other line of argument, and the point of the other line of argument would be spiritually to say, well, the Jesus who lived his life on earth, the earthly Jesus, and the risen Christ is one and the same person. And that's a very, very important teaching. And John wanted to emphasize this point, that the earthly Jesus and the risen Christ is really the same person, by merging these two horizons, the time of the earthly Jesus and the time of the risen Christ. Anyway, you might feel that this is a contested question. I challenge you to think about it. For me, in my kind of thinking and believing, it's of course true that the earthly Jesus did heal blind people. There is no question about this. We know this from the other Gospels. But I think it is quite possible that incidents from the later time, from the time of the risen Jesus, like Jewish people starting to believe in Jesus as the Messiah and then being banned from the synagogue, this is quite likely to have happened only after the time when Jesus had already risen and when the first communities started, the first Christian communities, that this is kind of melted in this story, and that it shows and it wants to emphasize that the earthly Jesus and the risen Christ is one and the same person. There's an identity of personhood between the two. Okay, so this is a bit of a challenging reading and challenging thoughts today. I wish you a good day and think about it, read the story again, think about it, and let God speak to you through thinking and reading. Bye-bye.